Hello viewers, I'm your host Shivangi Mishra with another episode of South Asia Focus. Let's begin the show. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi concluded a successful visit to the UAE and Qatar this week, which included an address at the World Government Summit in Dubai and inaugurated UAE's first Hindu temple in Abu Dhabi. His visit to Qatar came at a crucial time after Doha released all 8 Indian Navy personnel given death sentences on espionage charges.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi held a whirlwind tour of the UAE this week, where he addressed a well-attended Indian community event, the prestigious World Government Summit, and also inaugurated the first Hindu stone temple in Abu Dhabi, among other engagements. This was Modi's 7th visit to the Gulf state since becoming Prime Minister nearly a decade ago, strengthening ties with one of India's top trading partners. He spoke before thousands of the Indian diaspora at Zayed Stadium and said his third term in office would propel India to become the world's third largest economy. He also highlighted UAE's willingness to the opening of the first ever stone-built Hindu temple in the Middle East.
जब साल 2015 में उनके सामने आप सबकी ओर से यहां अबू धाबी में एक मंदिर का प्रस्ताव रखा तो वो तुरंत एक पल भी गंवाए बिना उन्होंने हाँ कह दिया। और उन्होंने यहां तक कह दिया, जिस जमीन पे तुम लकीर खींच लोगे वो मैं दे दूंगा। और अब अबू धाबी में ये भव्य दिव्य मंदिर के लोकार्पण का ऐतिहासिक समय आ गया है। अपने तीसरे टर्म में भारत को तीसरे नंबर की इकोनॉमी बनाने की गारंटी दी है।
In his meeting with UAE's President Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan in Abu Dhabi on Tuesday, both sides agreed on a trans-continental trade corridor. The announcement of the framework agreement was released in a statement by the Indian Foreign Ministry, although few details on what the sides had agreed on were made public. The corridor, announced last September on the sidelines of the G20 summit in New Delhi, aims to extend from India across the Arabian Sea to the United Arab Emirates and through Saudi Arabia before connecting through Jordan and Israel to Europe. In his address to the World Government Summit on Wednesday, the Indian Prime Minister said that the world today needs governments which are inclusive and free from corruption. He said in the last few years in India, people's trust in his government has increased. He also expressed gratitude towards UAE President Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan and said he is not only a leader of vision but also the leader of resolve and commitment. On Wednesday evening, the Prime Minister opened the Grand Hindu Temple in the United Arab Emirates, capping off a 2-day visit to the Muslim nation that is home to around 3.5 million Indians. Accompanied by Hindu religious leaders and monks, PM Modi offered prayers and performed rituals as he toured the temple in an event that was attended by members of the UAE government and the Indian community. The opening of the first traditional stone-carved Hindu temple on the Arabian Peninsula, the birthplace of Islam, is symbolic of the close ties between India and the UAE.
This is a wonderful thing. I'm here 42 years in UAE, and I have seen different stages of Dubai harmony, and this is at the best.
Meanwhile, in the last leg of his visit to the Middle East, PM Modi arrived in Qatar, which he said has added new vigor to the bilateral friendship and underlined that India looks forward to scaling up cooperation with the Gulf nation in key sectors like trade, investment, technology, and culture. This visit, which concluded on Thursday, assumed significance as it comes days after a diplomatic victory for India, following the release of 8 ex-Indian Navy personnel who were detained in Qatar for nearly 18 months since August 2022. During his less than 24 hours visit, his second since 2014, PM Modi held a wide-ranging talks with Qatar Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, primarily focusing on significantly expanding India-Qatar ties in areas of trade, energy, investment and new technology.
We now bring you an alarming story that has caused concern across the globe. Baloch TikToker Amir Alizai has allegedly been abducted by the Pakistani military for expressing his love for Balochistan. This incident highlights the ongoing violations of human rights in Balochistan, and activists worldwide are expressing solidarity with Baloch demonstrators and calling for an end to the brutality and enforced disappearances. The international community needs to pay attention because the situation on the ground in Balochistan is dire. We have a report.
वो हम बलोचों का मयार कहाँ गिराएंगे जिनका अपना कोई मयार नहीं.
This is the video of Baloch TikToker Amir Alizai. He has been allegedly abducted by Pakistan military for expressing his love for Balochistan. According to reports, Amir was abducted from Mastong on February 2nd. Regardless of who holds the power, the military's control over Balochistan exhibits no mercy towards the Baloch people. The ongoing Baloch genocide persists with alarming intensity. It is now becoming a very dangerous norm whereby any Baloch can be picked up illegally and traumatized in custody with mental and physical torture. Activists around the world are standing in solidarity with Baloch protesters and are demanding end to enforced disappearances and human rights abuses in Balochistan.
Balochistan's rich mineral resources are exploited by Pakistan and foreign companies against the local population's will.
The forced disappearances, extrajudicial killings, and demolition of villages violate human rights and exacerbate the environmental crisis.
In response, Balochistan stands united in a plea to end this genocide, to cease the exploitation of their resources, and to stop abducting and displacing the indigenous communities of Balochistan.
In the Pakistan's most underdeveloped area of Balochistan, the country's intelligence agency, Inter-Services Intelligence, has been accused of committing all kinds of atrocities, including abduction, killing and torture to instill fear. While engaging in extrajudicial killings in Balochistan, Pak forces and agencies often give the excuse that the killed people were involved in terrorism, an allegation for which they have no proof. In the name of insurgency, Pak forces are targeting innocent civilians in the region.
We have been victim of a systematic genocide by Pakistan, continuously fueling environmental injustices and severe human rights violations.
हम कमजोर नहीं है, बल्कि कमजोर तो ये रियासत है जो अपने ही हाथों बर्बाद हो रही है. कमजोर ये अदलिया है जो सुप्रीमेसी का दावा करने के बाद भी चंद ताकतवर लोगों के सामने बेबस है, जो आज तक किसी एक गुमशुदा शख्स को मंजर-ए-आम पर न ला सकी, जो आज तक कत्ल व गारत गिरी में मुलव्विस किसी एक मुजरिम को भी सामने न ला सकी.
Baloch activists are signing a petition urging the international authorities to take action on the ongoing genocide of their community members. They are demanding the United Nations and human rights organizations to take action and hold the authorities accountable for the crimes committed in Balochistan. Activists want a fact-finding mission headed by the United Nations Working Group to investigate the matter. Injustice and strong feeling of alienation has forced some Baloch people to pick up arms, who are continuously targeting the Pakistani army personnel and Chinese assets in their region.
Time now for Asia This Week, the stories from across the continent.
Since mid-November, Houthis say the attacks are a response to Israel's military actions in Gaza, and that they are carried out in sympathy with the Palestinian militant group Hamas. The attacks have prompted several companies to halt Red Sea journeys and opt for a longer and more expensive route around Africa.
Let us now move to Pakistan, where a hung parliament following the controversial February 8 polls has forced the two former allies PPP and PMLN to join hands for a coalition government. While the new alliance between the two political dynasts has ended the uncertainty over the government formation, political analysts believe the coalition will not last very long, and to remain in office, it will require the support of the country's powerful military. The political instability in Pakistan is likely to deepen concerns about the nation, which is mired in an economic crisis and battling a surge in militant violence. Several political parties and candidates in the Islamic Republic are protesting against the results. The supporters of political party Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf recently blocked traffic in the northern city of Peshawar. Caretaker Prime Minister Anwar ul Haq Kakar, however, has rejected the accusations, saying that there was no manipulation of results and there was no pressure on the Election Commission to deliver a particular result. He has declared that Pakistan would not investigate allegations of election irregularities. Meanwhile, Pakistan's two largest political parties have been wrangling over who will be the Prime Minister. An inconclusive vote has forced them to join forces and try to form a coalition in a parliament dominated by independents. Analysts believe that a possible coalition between Pakistan's two largest political parties after last week's controversial election will not last very long, nor will it achieve results.
How do I see things shaping up? I don't see this coalition government lasting for a long time. And quite frankly, given the accusations that have been made regarding the election, the integrity of the elections, I don't think any government which comes will be able to withstand the demand for other elections, better managed elections, more honest elections in the near future. So I don't think more than 6 to 9 months, and they'll have to go in for new elections.
Pakistan's existential problems are unlikely to be resolved by a government devoid of popular support. Analysts believe that the upcoming government will lack the political capital and space to pursue its own agenda. To remain in office, it will require the army support.
Well, there are two challenges. The first is economic, and the second is security. As far as economic challenges are concerned, I think they're much more important than the security challenges, which I think that the armed forces and the law enforcement agencies will be able to handle. As far as the economic problems are concerned, they are huge, they are vast.
According to reports, the party of the former Prime Minister Imran Khan has formed special committees to plan the formation of governments in the provinces of Punjab and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. Meanwhile, Pakistan court dismissed more than 30 petitions of defeated PTI-backed independents challenging election results.
18 के करीब कैंडिडेट्स जिनका ताल्लुक पीटीआई से है, जिसमें एनए के और पीएस के उम्मीदवार शामिल हैं, 8 एनए और 10 पीएस, उनकी नुमाइंदगी हम और हमारा पैनल कर रहा था। सिंध हाई कोर्ट ने आज तमाम तर दरख्वास्तें निपटा दी डायरेक्शंस के साथ ईसीपी को कि जो पिटिशन्स हाई कोर्ट में फ़ाइल हुई हैं उनको ईसीपी तस्वुर करे कि जैसे वो इलेक्शन कमीशन में फ़ाइल हुई थी, और इलेक्शन कमीशन उनकी सुनवाई करते हुए, उन एड्रेस करते हुए उन कंप्लेंट्स को अपना फ़ैसला दे। और उम्मीद ये रखी जाती है कि वो एक्सपीडिशियसली ये काम करेगा, क्योंकि वैसे ही कानून में पोलिंग का दिन मुकम्मल होने के 14 दिन के अंदर नोटिफिकेशन निकलना होता है रिटर्न कैंडिडेट का। तो 14 दिन का ही तस्वुर रखा गया है जहन में कि उसके अंदर फ़ैसला आ जाएगा।
For Pakistan, it is time for serious introspection and admission of mistakes. Political instability and lawlessness have driven the state to the edge of precipice. The future of democracy in Pakistan is bleak. The rich and vibrant festivals in Nepal are a testimony to the country's diverse tradition and culture. This week, in our cultural lineup, we will show you a unique Hindu festival celebrated in the Himalayan nation, Swasthani Vrat. Scores of Hindu devotees gathered at Bagmati River and took a holy dip, performed rituals as part of their first Pardes Yatra, and month-long festival began. The annual event is devoted to fasting, holy bathing and reading of sacred text. We have a report. Chants of Madhav Narayan echoed on the embankments of Bagmati River from the early hours of Friday as women donned in maroon red outfits stood in line to perform rituals. They have travelled about 13 kilometers on foot to Pashupati Nath temple as a part of their first Pardes Yatra, which comes as a part of ritual performed while undergoing month-long arduous Swasthani Vrat. As per the followed tradition, women undertaking the month-long Swasthani Vrat travel to Narayan and Shiva temples inside and other districts adjoining Kathmandu in group.
भगवानको एक महिने व्रत जुन प्रत्येक वर्ष पौष शुक्ल पूर्णिमादेखि माघ शुक्ल पूर्णिमा जुन 30 दिनसम्म भगवान व्रत माधव नारायणको कठिन र कठोर व्रत हो। यो व्रतमा चाहिँ एक महिनासम्म व्रतालु भक्तजनहरू एक छाक मात्र खाएर चाहिँ मतलब चाहिँ व्रत बस्ने चीज हो। यसमा पनि विशेष खाने मात्र खान मिल्छ, धेरै थोक हुँदैन, जम्मा 9 थरी 10 थरीको मात्र खाना हुन्छ र नुन यसमा पटक्कै एक महिनासम्म छुनै हुँदैन र यो परम्परादेखि चलिआएको व्रत हिसाबले आज जुन 15औं दिनमा हाम्रो परदेश यात्राको क्रमको लागि चाहिँ हिजो हामी बेलुका साल नदीबाट पैदल यात्रा गर्दै सम्पूर्ण व्रतालु भक्तजनहरू
Devotees who take on fast for a month don't eat foods cooked by others, which also exclude salt and other spices. They only eat rice, beaten rice, sugar, ghee, sugar candy, molasses, peas amongst those considered sacred. The annual ritual of Swasthani Vrat Katha starts from the full moon day of Posh, 9th month of lunar calendar, kick-starting the recitation of the religious sermons. The book of Swasthani mainly tells the story of Lord Shiva and Goddess Parvati that is described in Skanda Puran, belonging to the Hindu secondary scripture. It also has directives which states about do's and don'ts to be followed while undertaking a month-long fast that has been followed on long run. Goddess Swasthani is worshipped throughout month with priests and devotees taking on fasting along with those who aren't taking fasting recite tales of Swasthani Devi, Lord Shiva and other gods.
ब्रह्मा विष्णु महेश्वरको नारायण हो र श्री परापूर्व कालमा श्री महादेवको स्वामी पाउनको लागि पार्वती माताले श्री स्वस्थानी परमेश्वरको व्रत गर्नुभएको थियो। स्वस्थानीको व्रतको कसरी प्रारम्भ गर्ने, त्यो व्रतलाई कसरी अगाडि बढाउने, व्रत कसरी बस्ने भन्ने कुराको विधि विधान सम्पूर्ण कुरो माधव नारायण भगवानले त्यो जुन वृत्तान्त पार्वतीलाई भनेर पार्वतीले अब व्रत बस्नु भएको यो किमा यो उल्लेख भएको कुरा छ। त्यसकारणले गर्दा त्यही माधव नारायण भगवान जसले स्वस्थानी व्रतको जुन वृत्तान्त बताएर पार्वतीलाई महादेवको स्वामी पाउने जुन उद्देश्य उहाँको थियो त्यो व्रत प्रारम्भ गराउनु भएको कारणले गर्दा त्यो व्रतको प्रारम्भ गराउने माधव नारायण भगवान हो।
Hindus in Nepal read one chapter a day of 31-chaptered religious book which comprises of stories including tales about the creation of the world, Hindu deities and demons. The scripture also has a section which states about the start of taking on the fast, which brought in prosperity and happiness, which mentions about Salandi, which is also the reason for people to flock to a particular place to take on the fast. This heart penance by the devotees indeed results in fulfillment of their wishes and desires. The month-long rituals end with immersing all the offerings made to the goddess into the river. The Swasthani fast is observed with great reverence and devotion. It typically spans for a month and it is time for prayer, reflection and spiritual discipline. And with that, we come to the end of this week's episode. See you next week. Goodbye and take care.